Hopefully this will be our first annual. We hope to continue this every year moving forward. And so we will be sending invitations hopefully next year. My name is Lauren. I have worked with our program for 15 years. I worked on the inpatient unit, so I might know some of you from there. I was a nurse navigator, and now I have the privilege to help lead our program as our program director. We have a great little short program for you today. We're going to have Dr. Callender say a few words to us, and then we have the exciting privilege to be witnesses to see a patient meet their donor for the first time today. So first, Dr. Callender is going to give a few words about our program, its history, and where we see it going in the future. Dr. Callender has, many of you probably know her, maybe she is your doctor, maybe you saw her when you were on the inpatient unit as she was rounding. She has worked with stem cell transplant patients for over 30 years, 20 of those here at UW.
Thank you all very, very much. It's my privilege to welcome everybody to this wonderful event today. So I want to start it by just saying a few words about the UW Transplant program. And I bet many of you don't know that one of the first transplants in the United States, even the world, was done here in Madison. And this was 1971, where a 2-year-old boy was suffering from a very severe blood disorder that was going to kill him. And the transplant was done using bone marrow from his sister, and it was successful. And that, of course, obviously set the course for us to have just an outstanding, I think, record of excellence and activity in bone marrow transplants since then. So one of the things that I want to also talk about is just where we have been and what has changed in the past 50 years in transplant. You know, many of you probably don't know that we will live through an era in the 1970s and 1980s when a person would have a donor transplant and we would tell them 1 out of 3 of you will be dead by day 100 after the transplant. That was the stats under the best of circumstances. We have now gotten to a point where we've learned how to start to minimize some of the side effects of transplantation. Something I wish I could say all of you here have not experienced this, but complications like mouth sores, we're better at that than we used to be, not perfect. Complications like burns from radiation don't happen anymore. And we're getting to the point where instead of telling a patient, you're going to be in the hospital for months, that we're telling people, you're going to be there, we hope, for a couple of weeks or maybe just a couple of days. Now, the other big innovation that has happened in my lifetime is, if you go back just a few years to 2000, at that time frame, a patient was considered too old for a donor transplant if they were above the age of 40. And if you were doing an autologous stem cell transplant, if you were older than 60, you were disqualified. Now, I think all of you here know that one of the major innovations that has occurred in the last couple of decades is that we are now routinely able to offer donor-based transplants to people over the age of 65 and potentially help cure or at least control better their blood disorders. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what we think the future is going to hold. And we are in the era now of starting to learn how to use the immune system to treat blood cancers and getting away from that very strong, harsh chemotherapy base that has been the norm. Now, we have a lot to do, but we think that we will be able to do it here at UW. And I think the future is very bright for innovations in blood cancer so that we could really tell every person who walks in the door that we're going to cure you and your cancer is not going to come back. Now, it's a wonderful goal, and that's what we're working for. I think it's also appropriate on this exciting afternoon to just give some shout-outs that are well-deserved. And first I want to focus on our nurses, both inpatient and outpatient. So these are the individuals who selflessly come in, day out, and they offer expert medical care, but they also offer something more, which is comfort. For those of you who remember that experience of being in a tiny little room up on B66, the nurses will come and spend time and get to know you as a person. And that's whether it's an inpatient, an outpatient, or in our infusion center. So I also want to give a shout out to our providers, so our physicians, our advanced practitioners, who also work every day to bring the best medical care that we know how to deliver, as well as try to bring to you all innovative and important clinical research that we are doing here. I also want to shout out to people that we don't talk about or you don't maybe or aren't aware about. People behind the scenes who just make these transplants as seamless as you can imagine. And those are people like our individuals who run our stem cell lab, our nurses who help collect your cells, the administrators in the hospital who help try to push through billing and things like that, the people that we don't talk about much, and they deserve our gratitude as well. And I also need to give a huge round of applause to the families and friends who support all of our patients. Now, we know what it takes. You have put aside your own work, many times your own families. You are supporting your patients, our patients, emotionally, physically, and financially. And they are eternally grateful for that, and it's, again, wonderful to be able to honor them here today. Emotional here, I think. Sorry. Lastly, I want to thank the patients themselves. You know, you are an outstanding example to all of us. Your strength and your courage and your resiliency to push ahead and get through the most difficult of times. You are an inspiration to all of us who work in this field, and the thing that keeps us coming in every day to do the job. And I thank you so much, and thank you for coming. So, I was told I shouldn't talk too long, but again, this is a wonderful event, and as Lauren said, I hope it is one of many, and we thank you all for your support and your presence here today, and we are genuinely honored to be able to serve you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kellner. I just want you to know that our program is very lucky to have you, and your dedication to our patients does not go unnoticed. So, thank you. Now I would like to introduce Courtney Botteron. She is one of our nurse navigators. Perhaps she was yours, or perhaps she took care of you while she worked on B66. She has been with our program for 13 years. She is going to introduce her patient, Jill.
In September of 2022, I had the pleasure of meeting Jill, a new patient of Dr. Brunner's, recently diagnosed with T-cell lymphoblastic leukemia. Tasked with finding Jill a matched unrelated stem cell donor, I went to work on a search for her for the best match. Outreach was made to 5 different donors. 2 of these donors were unavailable, and 2 fell short of our donor criteria. Luckily, a young gentleman on the DKMS registry, which we'll learn more about here shortly, came forward with all the right details and a perfect match for Jill. Today we have the honor of hearing Jill's story and being witness to her meeting her stem cell transplant donor, Garrett, face-to-face for the first time. I'd like to bring forward and introduce Jill to say a few words.
My name is Jill Porch, and I was diagnosed in the fall of 2022, and I would be dead today without UW Health, without the Carbone Cancer Center, and all of the team members, the staff that I came into contact with. They were all experts. They were all very empathetic. They were all comprehensive in the care that they provided. And truly, I would have died in the fall of 2022 without UW Health and the Carbone Cancer Center. And then also, I would not be alive today without the generous gift from my donor, Garrett. Sorry. I'm 68 years old. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse for more than 45 years. Mostly working in the emergency department and as a sexual assault nurse examiner, forensic nurse examiner. Having all that knowledge I still was surprised, when I was diagnosed and had a lot to learn about, because certainly medicine is so specialized that, what I know did not really help me with what was going on. So, the match I have was really, really good. I feel great. I'm almost 2 years out now. I was working, when I was diagnosed with had to quit working because of, the chemotherapy and all that goes along with that. But I've returned to work in the last couple of months, and I hope to work until I'm 70, 72, whenever they kick me out. So, anyway, I'm just, bottom line, I'm really, I'm so very grateful to live in Madison, in the Middleton area. I feel like if I lived somewhere else, and it wasn't near UW and Marrow Cancer Center, that I wouldn't be alive today. So, thank you so much.
I now want to introduce Maya, who's a Public Relations and Internal Communications Manager for DKMS.
Thanks. I will be brief because I know I'm not the main event here. But I want to say quickly thank you to UW Health and Carbone and Courtney and the whole team for allowing us to be part of this. DKMS, we are an international nonprofit organization working to delete blood cancer and other blood disorders. Our mission is to give as many patients as possible a second chance at life. We were founded in the 90s by a family very similar to many of yours. A mother, she was diagnosed with leukemia, told she would need a transplant, and her family got to work trying to find her a donor. Unfortunately, she did pass away before a proper donor was found, but before she died, she made her family promise that they would not stop until every patient in need had a matching donor. And that is what DKMS was born out of. We have expanded since then. We have patient support programs. We have done research. We provide grant funding for people who are doing research on stem cells. But the core of our mission remains to find a perfect donor for every patient out there. We do that in a lot of ways. People can register online with us at dkms.org. I'm not going to preach to everyone here about how important it is to register as a donor because I know you all know that. But tell your friends and family, dkms.org, get registered. It is life-savingly important. We also host stem cell donor drives all over the country, and I am encouraging you guys, if you want a way to give back and to give thanks, it's one of the best ways to do it. We host them at churches, schools, offices, neighborhood associations, literally anywhere you can grab someone and explain the importance of getting registered. So if you're interested, we work with current patients, past patients, family members of patients, even people who just want to do some good in the world. Reach out to us. There are a few flyers on the table there and at the check-in with more information. I'm also happy to answer any questions you may have. But it's a super easy, free way to give back, because I know there's a lot of love and there's a lot of happiness in this room, and a lot of people want to give back in a way like that. So please don't hesitate to ask me. I'm happy to help. But the reason I'm here is because at one of those donor drives, a young pharmacy student named Garrett decided to register, inspired by a family with a long history of donating blood and amazement for the fact that science even allows something like this to happen. Garrett decided to register, and then a couple years later he gets a call from DKMS saying, hey, you're a potential match for a patient in need. And he didn't hesitate. He said yes. He decided, you know what, yeah, I'm going to donate my stem cells to a complete and utter stranger. And he went through the process. He got the shots, he sat in the chair, and because of that, Jill is here with us today. So without further ado, because I'm tired of waiting, as I'm sure all of you guys are, Garrett, do you want to come up?
First off, I'd like to say I'm not much of a public speaker, so forgive me on that part. But to be honest, I didn't really guys gonna get that emotional. But I want to thank you all for showing up today. Honestly, like I feel like my portion of it really wasn't that much. I just got the call, showed up and did what I thought was the right thing. I did want to thank, the doctors kind of took a lot of my speech, I guess. All the oncologists who, went and did this. Going through undergrad, med school, residency, that is not easy. That's a feat that they should be appreciated for, and all the providers, all the nurses behind the scenes and helping with the patients, doing my donation, the lab techs, and all those people that aren't here or don't get noticed and put on a podium and thanked every day. Just want to make sure they got mentioned as well.
I just wanted to thank both of you, Garrett and Jill, for sharing your story today and allowing us to be witness to that, and Maya for helping us organize. It's been great working with you guys.
Do you want to say anything, Mr.? Okay, well, thank you again. That was awesome, and I'm glad you guys all got to be here to witness that with us. So it's been fun to get that set up. Before we end our program, I again just want to thank all of our patients who are here today. I know that some of you drove a long way to come. We were unsure about the weather, and it really just demonstrates how much you have been through and how you want to show up and see others who have been through the same thing. It's also great for us to be able to see you doing well. Like Dr. Callender said, it just solidifies in us why we do what we do. So thank you again for coming. And like they both said to our staff, I've had the privilege of working inpatient, outpatient with our stem cell lab, with our infusion center. So again, we have a great bunch of people that work in our program, and I am very privileged to be able to work with all of them. Again, as Dr. Callender said, you all brought people here with you, your friends, your families, your caregivers, and I really want to make sure we give them another shout out again, because without them, we couldn't do what we do. They partner with us to make sure that you guys get better once you're home and continue to get through this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. So we would love to be able to get a group picture of everyone, and now that it is not raining at all, we want to go over to this kind of green space here. We're going to have a photographer up top to take a picture down at us. So if we could all make our way over there. After the picture, Babcock ice cream is here. We will have ice cream, individual cups for everyone, so please get ice cream. And for those of our patients, we have a gift for you before you leave, so please make sure we're going to be back by this fireplace here with gifts for all of our survivors. Thank you again, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next